Streetlight flickered lazily over the cracked pavement outside House 33 Prosper Estate Road, casting long shadows where the gutters were covered by darkness and hovered by some unlit streetlight that suffered from poor maintenance. Zachary sat on a high pavement, legs stretched out, gisting with his neighboring friend as the stars in the sky blinked with dim glitters of the night. The night was cold and quiet, but the atmosphere was quite good to hang out while others slumbered. The gentle breeze was penetrating the body with cold that can only offer shivers. But right there, at this modern age and civilization, slavery of a different kind was running the street, night and day, before everyone's eyes, but in disguise. It was about 12:25 a.m. and Zachary was still going through YouTube videos. Lagos still pulsed in distant echoes from distant voices and music, but here, on this narrow crescent of crowded buildings and choked drains, time ran slow. Then they slowly appeared, from distant, faded figures in the shadows of the dark night, to the illumination of the street light that made them visible. They couldn't be ghost, or spirit of some kind. Are they? Two girls, barely more than shadows under the dim glow of the streetlight, skinny and tired under the weight of large trays balanced on their heads, loaded with leftover boiled groundnuts. They wore faded clothes, worn out from years of washing and overused, their eyes were hollow and sleepy. Even the air around them seemed tired from obligated suffering. Zachary called for the groundnut so that they can buy and chew with his friend Sam while they gist, but the girls stole his heart with sympathy and compassion. They couldn't even talk or divulge much as Zachary asked question. They were in a situation where they couldn't even call their parents in the village and they had no one to cry to in the city. Nowhere to run to. They must hawk on the street till the middle of the night, make sales and make returns by the following morning. Their parents, back in the village, were told that their young daughters were taken to the city to school and work, and they gladly jumped into the elusive offer and released their treasured daughters without phone or any form of contacts. Even those who had phones had them forcefully collected and destroyed by their masters to cut off contacts beyond their captivity. Business thrived in different shapes and sizes, but integrity looms in silent undercover. They two girls were Kate and Titi, her cousin. Titi looked younger than 16 but still fell within the same age bracket. She was worn out from long-distance trek. The girls hesitated at first but loosened up when they realized that they were not in danger. Their eyes darting like cornered animals, Zachary made them feel comfortable and relaxed. He bought some but decided not to leave any changed when he realized that the girls were not having any part of the money. He wished the night was still young so that he can buy them food to eat. He asked them to sit and rest a bit but they refused because they obviously couldn't wait to get to their camp and sleep. A compassionate Zachary asked question but the girls were not in any mood to entertain any curious mind. Kate's lips tightened with tiredness draining her away. It is Chief Corda that brought us from the village. He told us that we were coming to Lagos to school but when we got here, he said, we must work first. It is almost 2 years now and we are still working for him. If we talk about school, he beats us and starve for days without food. We were 17 girls, sleeping in 2 rooms but 1 girl died last year, so we are 16 girls remaining. If we don't make sales and returns, even if we are sick, he will not give us food to eat. Zachary's chest tightened. Titi added, sometimes he beat us when the sales is low and locks us outside. The air between them froze. Zachary stood up slowly. Come tomorrow. See this building right here, Zachary pointed, come and see me in flat 3B, ask for Zachary. This has to stop. If you can come between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m., I will be expecting the both of you. No, we cannot come out, they don't allow us to come outside until about 12 noon when the market is ready. We can only come out with our market, she informed. No problem, 12 noon is fine. Zachary agreed and paid them off and they left, discussing and deliberating in their local dialect. Kate returned alone the following day, prepared for the day's rigorous business. A load of boiled groundnuts formed a high cone shape that could easily be sabotaged by a strong wind. Gentle streams of sweat was already forming on her neck, running down from her head, yet her normal business day was just starting and she had not made any sales yet. Expectations were certain that she was carry the weight in her tray for hours till midnight, unless she was able to sell out everything before midnight. Zachary assisted her in dropping down the tray of groundnut from her head and was shocked to experience the actual weight that a human carried around the city for hours to enrich a slave master who was eating and sleeping comfortably in a conducive home, with sweet joy and heartfelt laughter. Zachary got her seated on the terrace of his building and they got talking. He inquired to know her background story and the business operation of her master. She was reluctant to divulge much information. Zachary discovered that her reluctance was not because she had anything to hide, but because she was worried that time was running out and she needed to proceed with her hawking for the day. Zachary paid off for everything and more, and shared all her groundnut for the people around. She then became relaxed and excited. Then she opened up and told him everything. Zachary instructed her to come back the following day with her friend, Titi. By morning the following day, the two girls showed up in Zachary's house. Zachary took them out to the market and got them a few clothes and personal needs. They were excited not to go back to their camp, as Zachary, who was living with his newly wedded wife in a 3-bedroom flat, prepared a room for them to stay while he looked for an apartment for them. Life became totally different for them. Their views and mentality gradually changed. From the first day, Zachary welcomed them into his home. His wife, Miriam, stared at the young girls with uncertainty, but said nothing at first. Zachary bathed them, fed them, and gave them new clothes. He allowed them to have a break and a breath of fresh air. He got them cell phones for them to be able to reconnect with their parents in the village. After 3 days of resting, eating, and relaxing, he summoned them for a meeting, and informed them that while he was looking for an apartment for them to stay, they should think seriously about their future. He knew that they wouldn't come up with much, due to lack of financial strength, but he allowed them to have their moments of reflection. They stayed and rested comfortably in his house for 1 week, and by the 7th day, the neighborhood tongues were already wagging, criticizing his wife for allowing him to bring in teenage girls to stay with them in their house. Zachary was not bothered with the gossips, but his wife was very concerned. She couldn't ignore it for long, and one evening she stood up with her arms folded across her chest. "Zachary, these girls, this situation is not normal. Or does it seem normal to you?" "I know," he said quietly, "but what they have seen, what they have been through, Miriam, I can't turn away from them and live with a troubling heart. My mind and the whole of my being feels indebted and obliged to help them. I know that there are so many of them out there, but if I can just help these 2 girls that I have with me, I will be glad indeed." Her eyes watered, but she nodded. "Then find a way to help them without breaking our home." By the following week, Zachary succeeded in renting a single-room apartment for them within the same neighborhood. He placed Kate and Titi on a modest monthly allowance and enrolled them in apprenticeship programs, Kate with a fashion designer while Titi at a hairdressing salon. When the girls left the house, Miriam slowly softened and felt relieved, but with self-atonement. "I never knew," she said to herself regrettably. "I judged too quickly." She remembered the words of her beloved husband, "They've known more pain than joy, but maybe, just maybe, we can change that." She relaxed her suspicion and channeled her energy towards compassion to the girls, her fellow women. Time passed, and within 2 years of grace, the girls blossomed in their respective field of endeavor. Kate, driven by ambitious hunger for success and greatness, passed her prerequisite exams for college education and approached Zachary with the good news. He was happy for her as she declared, "I want to go to school," she said. "What do you have in mind?" Zachary asked with a smile of fulfillment. "I am considering reading public administration at the university," she said, almost like proffering an opinion. "That's a good idea, and just so you know, I am proud of you. Whatever you need, just let me know. I am here for you." Zachary sponsored her degree program, proudly watching her and seeing her through her academic pursuit, and his repented wife, Miriam, never stopped clothing the two girls and helping out with other necessities. Life was well transformed and Kate had frequently visited her family back in the village. She makes a reasonable amount of income as a fashion designer and always made beautiful dresses for Miriam, and some for her own mother whenever she was traveling home. And so, life went well with them all. 12 years later, Kate stood in front of a government podium, dressed in navy blue official jacket and trouser. Her identity badge read, Senior Commissioner, State Urban Development and Property Standards. Her voice rang firm into the microphone. We will no longer tolerate illegal structures on dangerous places in the state. Every building on the high-tension power line must be brought down. No one is above the law. You may see yourself as a victim, if affected, but you must understand that it is the duty and responsibility of the government to protect the lives of the people, and properties in general. The sanction for the demolition was sent to her office by the state governor, after a long overdue notice. Fate slowly drizzled into her jurisdiction as she soon got to discover. A day before the scheduled demolition of the buildings, she sat in her office that morning and picked up the files on her desk. Of all the documents, one particular file fell off and she quickly picked it up. Her eyes scanned through and got fixed on a particular name. The name sent an earthquake through her memory. The dark nights, the beatings, the hunger, the heavy tray, loaded with groundnut and the tiring walk. Chief Douglas Quarter. That was the name she saw. She stared with rapt interest, clothed with painful memories. Going down the list, she discovered that, out of the 15 buildings marked for demolition, 5 belonged to Chief Quarter. She felt her throat tightened and her thought was deep but with no focus. She didn't know what to think at the moment. A knock came on her office door and her secretary ushered in a guest. It was Chief Quarter himself, looking a bit older with more gray hair, yet remained arrogant. Kate. I heard you're in charge of this nonsense. Those buildings cost me millions. I raised you, fed you, look, it was me that brought you out from the suffering in the village. Now you turn around to witch hunt me? Kate stared at him, unblinking from her sitting position behind her big mahogany desk. Mr. Quarter, I am hearing nonsense actually coming from you. And you must correct yourself before you proceed to say any other thing. You did not raise me. You used me. Is that clear? Whatever you call it or chose to believe, you owe me, Quarter said. Did I make myself clear, Mr. Quarter? Kate asked, almost raising her voice. And listen to me very well. I only owe a lot to the angel of God, called Zachary, whom God sent to rescue me from your deadly enslavement, and gave me a life. Which is, this life that you are seeing right now. Now, get out of my office before the security bundles you out. I am even surprised that you still exist. She signaled to her secretary, get the security to throw him out. You have not seen the last of me. You will hear from me soon, Chief Quarter said and stormed out. She smiled faintly. Oh, no. I think you have not seen me started on you yet, Mr. Quarter. You have also just reminded me to look into your scheme with innocent helpless young girls, waiting for the world to know. That night, she visited Zachary. He was still looking younger than his age. Sitting with his wife the living room, smiling in a joyful moment as their interest was fixed on Nollywood film that they were watching. She knelt before him and thanked him for everything, still feeling that she had not thanked him enough and may never find a way to thank him enough. You gave me life, Uncle Zachary, she said. Zachary simply smiled and said, It's fine, my dear. How is your mom and siblings? They are fast adjusting to life in Lagos. Kate had succeeded in relocating her family to Lagos from the village, after the untimely death of her father. Chief Quarter's buildings were demolished with the rest of other affected buildings. Titi owned her own chain of salons called Titi Touch and employed 14 women. The young women of nightmares in the dark now shine in the brightness of daylight. Please subscribe to this channel for more interesting tales. Stay blessed.